Hello, everyone. Welcome back to MLS Moves. Please make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. We're getting closer to 5,000 subscribers. We're less than 540 away. With your help, we can reach that goal by MLS Cup Final Day. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Now, reviewing what happened this past weekend in the MLS Cup playoffs, Game 2s were played and several teams were eliminated. Let's start off with the LA Galaxy and Colorado Rapids. So the LA Galaxy beat the Rapids 5-0 in their first matchup, and Game 2 went to Colorado. And, there was a chance the Galaxy could struggle on the road. They haven't been a great road team this year, but they've been undefeated at Dignity Health Sports Park. And it was the same old, same old. They took care of business. They beat the Colorado Rapids 4-1. And I thought the Rapids played a lot better in this second game, even if the scoreboard doesn't necessarily reflect that. Jordy Mihailovic played in this match, and you could tell it made a difference. But the Colorado Rapids just don't have the attacking talent to really keep up with a team like the LA Galaxy. And I always thought this was going to be their downfall. If they wanted to win a series like this, they were going to have to be a slugfest, beat a team 1-0, and just hope to God they don't score. And that's the complete opposite of how this series went. The Galaxy scored 9 goals in 2 games and just had their way with the Colorado Rapids. And I think Ricky Puig was the MVP of the series. He's been very good this playoffs so far. And the LA Galaxy cruised by Colorado Rapids with ease, outscoring them 9-1. Gabriel Peck was very good. Joveljic was very, very good. Joseph Paintsel had a great second game. This team's very scary, and honestly, I think they're the team to beat in the Western Conference right now. The Rapids, I thought, like I said, could be a team that could be a thorn in their side, but they beat them with ease, and they advanced to the next round. Now, speaking of who they'll play the next round, RSL and Minnesota United played their series, and I actually thought RSL would win because they have a more talented team, but they've struggled since the middle of the season, and Minnesota United has been a pretty consistent team all season long. I was a little concerned because their coach, Eric Ramsey, is the youngest manager in Major League Soccer. And, he doesn't have a lot of experience here. So I didn't really know how that would pan out, but they were able to win. It was kind of a ugly set of games. The first game was 0-0, and they were able to win in penalties. The second game was 1-1, and they were able to win in penalties. They were able to move on to the second round. They could be a team or the semifinals. They could be a team to watch out for in the playoffs, and they're going to play the Galaxy. It's a single elimination match, so it's going to be tough to beat the Galaxy at home. But who knows? I mean, anything can happen in this type of format, and it's going to be an interesting match to keep an eye on. I think the Galaxy will probably end up winning, but we'll see. We'll save that for the prediction video of the next round. Now, moving on to the next set of games, we had the Seattle Sounders and the Houston Dynamo. Now, the Seattle Sounders are a team that I think are very limited, okay? Very limited as far as a lot of their players, their core players, have been there for several years. João Paulo, Yeimar, Roldan, Rui Diaz, Jordan Morris, so on and so forth. I wasn't too impressed with their team to get them far in the playoffs. This is a team that would have been good 4 years ago, 3 years ago, hell, maybe even 2 years ago. But they really haven't added much besides swapping out Nicola Darrow for Pedro de la Vega. I wasn't too sold on them, and I thought Houston was a team trending in the right direction, but I should have known better because of Ben Olsen. They lost their first game on penalties 5-4, and then in the second game, it looked like Houston had a chance. They got a late goal, and it was an own goal, but they got a late goal, and it went to penalties, and Seattle ended up winning 7-6. It was a decent series, pretty competitive, but very low scoring. I'm still not sold on Seattle. I think they have a lot of issues, but they advance to the next round, and they will play the winner of LAFC and the Vancouver Whitecaps. Now, LAFC looked really good in their first game. They won 2-1, and it looked like they were going to probably sweep the Vancouver Whitecaps. Well, they go to Vancouver across the border, and they got absolutely waxed. They got waxed. We did a live stream for this game. They looked completely disinterested with the game. They looked like they were thinking about other things. There was no grit with this team. There was no fight with this team. They couldn't get any good chances all night long. Denny Bouanga hit the side netting more than he had any shots on goal. And there was just nobody taking over this match for LAFC. I think their best player in that game was probably Lewis O'Brien, which I'm a big fan of his. He was probably their best player in my opinion, but the defense is such a liability. Segura was terrible. Ryan Hollinshead had an own goal. Vancouver played a very good game. Brian White, Ryan Gould always plays a good game. I think Vancouver could catch LAFC sleeping if the LAFC doesn't play with more urgency. Game 3, not a lot of people thought this would happen. I didn't think this was going to happen, but here they are, Vancouver. This will be their 13th game against LAFC in 2 years, are playing an elimination game at BMO Stadium to advance and play the Seattle Sounders in the semifinals. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But that's pretty embarrassing to have. Not that it's not embarrassing that that Vancouver beat LAFC. It's embarrassing the way they lost. So we'll see what happens. Moving on to Miami and Atlanta. Now, Miami won this game 2-1 in their first round, or the first game, excuse me. And I thought, well, Atlanta United's playing with house money. They really don't have anything to lose because they sold all their best players. They have an interim manager. They're really just, there's nothing that's stopping them from doing it. Like they have no expectations to do anything in the playoffs. Making it was honestly a great feat for them, and especially with everything they went through this season. But they were able to pull one back 2-1 against Miami on Saturday, and Miami kind of looked sluggish. They looked like they really weren't there either. I think a lot of these teams are struggling on the road, like they don't want to be there. They're just kind of like coasting by, waiting for the third match to go back home, because Miami, just if they play like that again, they're going to lose to Atlanta United. Now, I don't think they're going to play like that again, but we'll see. Atlanta United's had their number these last 2 years. So very disappointing performance by Miami. I expect Messi to step it up and play a lot better. I'm not saying he had a bad game, but he didn't score. He kind of looked a little not uncomfortable or out of it, but he just couldn't get in a rhythm on Saturday. Luis Suarez couldn't score. I think that they're going to play a lot better at home. Sergio Busquets didn't play in this match. They're going to have to play better defensively, and they're going to have to score some goals. They're going to have to do what they normally do, where they can turn it on like that. We'll see if they're able to do that in this final leg, but that's going to be on I think it's Saturday, to see if they advance to the semifinals. And moving on to who they would play in the next round, Orlando City and Charlotte. Now, Charlotte was my dark horse for the MLS Cup playoffs because they're so sound defensively. They've conceded the least amount of goals in Major League Soccer, 37 all season long. So it's a little bit over 1 goal per game, which is incredible if you've been following Major League Soccer, because that's essentially what they promote in Major League Soccer, just a frenzy of goals. And they were able to be a very sound defensively sound club under Dean Smith. They lose their first match against Orlando City SC 2-0, but they're able to win in penalties in the second match. And this is the way they're going to have to win. They're not going to beat you in the scoreboard. They're not going to score 3-4 goals. If that's what it's going to be, they're not going to win that series. The way that they're going to beat you is that they're going to beat you 1-0, and they're going to have a very defensively sound game and make sure you don't score and be a thorn in your side. They're the ultimate thorn in your side club. That's why they kind of scare me against Miami if they advance. Just because if Miami has one bad game, it's single elimination the next round. If Miami has one bad game, Charlotte FC puts on a defensive clinic and they're able to get 1 goal, it's over. So that's the reason why they kind of scare me a little bit. I still think they're going to beat Orlando City, even though it's at Orlando for the game 3. But yes, that's a very tough series that's going to game 3, and we'll see who ends up winning. Now, moving on to the next series is Cincinnati and New York City FC. Cincinnati was able to get the win at home in the first game. Kind of lackluster, didn't look very good in my opinion, but they were able to win, and I did think they were going to win the series. Then they move over to Yankee Stadium, which is hard to play. It's probably the least popular place to play on the road in Major League Soccer because of the narrow pitch. It's absolutely terrible for opposing teams. They hate it. And they get the floor waxed with them. I mean, they lost 3-1. Their defense is suspect. They don't have a striker. Lucho Acosta can't do everything. New York City FC, I think Nick Cushing's a very mid coach, for lack of a better word. But I mean, they're able to win, and they're going into this final match with some confidence. And they do have the talent to win with Santi Rodriguez and Martinez. And defensively, they're very defensively sound. And Matt Freese is a very good goalkeeper. So I think it's going to be a good third match. You guys know how, if you've been following me on Twitter or X or any of my live streams, you know how I feel about the best of 3 series. I don't like it, but this is going to be an interesting third game to see who prevails and moves on to the next round. Now, uh, finally, the shocker of all MLS matchups, the one that absolutely obliterated all of our brackets, New York Red Bulls and the Columbus Crew. This is an interesting one, okay? So the Columbus Crew played the New York Red Bulls on decision day and beat them 3-2. They were up 2-0. Red Bulls pulled 2 back, and then it was a late decision or a late goal to win and win that match. I don't know what the hell happened in this series. I mean, they lost 1-0 in the first round at home, or the first match at home, and then they were losing in the second match, and they had this absurd added time of like 12 minutes, which is crazy as hell. I don't know how you get 12 minutes of added time. Like what's going on there? But either way, Christian Ramirez is able to get a late tying goal to send it into PKs, and it looked like the Columbus Crew were going to make a comeback and take this to a game 3, but that never happened. They lost. They lost in penalties to the Red Bulls. The Red Bulls under Sandro Schwartz, Emil Forsberg, Ela, this team, Lewis Morgan, this team beat the defending champions in the first round to sweep them. It wasn't a best of 3. They swept them in 2 games. Wilfred Nancy, Darlington Nagbe, Cucho Hernandez, Diego Rossi, Farfan, Patrick Schulte, this star-studded team for Major League Soccer standards, got swept in the first round by the New York Red Bulls. Absolute upset. Maybe the biggest upset that I've seen in Major League Soccer in a very long time, because they had to beat them in a series, and they swept them. They swept the defending champs. So like I said, everybody's bracket is completely just shattered after this performance. Absolutely shattered. And the New York Red Bulls advance to the semifinals and will play the winner of New York City FC and FC Cincinnati. So that is the update on game 2s in the first round series. Let me know what your biggest takeaways were during the MLS Cup playoffs. Were you guys shocked the Crew got swept? I was shocked the Crew got swept. I was absolutely shocked the Crew got swept. Let me know what your biggest surprise was in the second game of the MLS Cup playoffs in the round of 3 series. Also, guys, make sure you like this video down below. Subscribe to the channel. Like I said, we are close to hitting 5,000 subscribers. So help us hit our goal by MLS Cup final day. I think we can do it. We're less than 540 away. With your help, we will definitely do it. Also, hit the little bell notification so you never miss any of my videos and you never miss any of my live streams. I appreciate it, guys. MLS Cup playoffs are picking up. It's going to be exciting. Can't wait to see what happens and who lifts the cup this year. Until next time, guys, I will see you all soon.